Thrillbent Comics, which is his online comic company. I read somewhere that you like sold your entire paper comic book collection to pay for this.
I did, in fact.
I don't know. Wow.
Selling, using the past to invest in the future. That's how I look at it.
Okay. And right now, part owner with Christy of the Alter Ego Comics there in Muncie, Indiana, which is great. And I think is very special, very fantastic. The Eisner Awards, for those of you who don't know it, are like the Oscar Awards for the comic book industry. So we have sitting here, and I think this is like a historic occasion. Yeah, 3 Eisner Awards in 2012. Best Single Issue, Daredevil #7. Best Continuing Series, Daredevil. And then Best Writer for Irredeemable, Incorruptible, and Daredevil. So congratulations to them. And then you have a original graphic novel, as I'm hearing it called, The Shadow Walk, coming out in November. And the LA Times says it's Indiana Jones meets RoboCop. Is that fair?
Indiana Jones meets Aliens.
Aliens.
Yes, that was, but not Indiana Jones 4. So yeah, that's it. That's the 4th.
So what's it about? When's it out? Due out?
That comes out. It comes out, I think, the last week of November.
Okay.
And it's an original standalone graphic novel with myself and an artist named Shane Davis. And the basic concept is, you've heard about the Valley of the Shadow of Death in the Bible verse and stuff. What if that place were real? What if there was really a mythical place on Earth that comes into being every once in a while that is the wellspring of all the Earth's legends and evils and so forth, and then going in an Indiana Jones way with today's cutting-edge science to explore and find out what you can.
Okay, fantastic. Sounds great. It'd be a great Christmas present, Hanukkah present, Kwanzaa present.
Exactly.
And what was it in Seinfeld? Festivus?
Festivus.
There you go. All right, got them all. All right.
Can I add one more thing?
Go right ahead.
Is that his book, Power of Comics, was nominated for an Eisner.
What year was that nominated?
Party.
Really?
Yeah.
So how did I...
Because Matt's shy.
Research. Way to go, Craig. Tonight because he's giving up his mom's 70th birthday.
Wow.
To be here. Do you
Oh,
have
horrible.
Well, come on up, sir. Come on up. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We have a birthday card for his mom. We would like everybody to sign this. All right. So we're just going to pass this around. Hopefully we got 70 people in here. And just sign your name. Not quite 70.
That's good. That'll stem the flow of her bitter tears.
Yeah,
Okay.
Your alter ego and
She's probably selling your comic book collection on eBay. So it's all set up for you, sir. And you can do the introduction, and I'll go from there. So thank you.
Sorry if it looks like I'm reading off of this because I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for it, and it's because I am reading off of a script. So.
You've had your entire life prepared for this.
This one moment. Every time I meet you, it's always like an interview. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Christopher Kaus, and I am the current acting president for the Comic Book League here at Wright State University. Our student organization is a broad range of goals that we have in mind, and foremost is to equip students with the necessary skills to effectively use comic books as literary sources in the classroom setting. And this task usually involves looking at pieces that stand out as what we consider genre defining. And just this semester alone, we've looked at such works as Alan Moore's The Killing Joke. We've also looked at Straczynski's 9/11 issue of The Amazing Spider-Man, dealing with the 9/11 attack in New York. Unlike of tonight's discussion, we're actually planning on reading the Marvel Civil War event in the coming weeks. We have also spent time looking at the structure of comics, how they're made, even at virtual comics and how they've basically been evolving. We actually used some of Mr. Waid's content of his discussion. Yes. About a week ago when Craig came to ask me, looking for an expert on the X-Men, no pun intended, I immediately jumped at the opportunity because what we discuss here tonight is exactly the thing that we're trying to promote at our Comic Book League meetings. We're trying to brush off the taboo that comic books are not just for entertainment purposes, but there is actually a weight to them that can hold up against literary works and philosophical books. And this is basically the thing that we're trying to promote as we go on through our next semester and hopefully into our second semester here at Wright State. And I'm sure that if you are all here tonight, you probably feel the same way that they are an important piece of our history as well. With that being said, I'd like to start off tonight to talk briefly about who the X-Men are. And why they have survived where many comics have died off over the years. But in order to understand the literature, we must first understand the context of the comic. The Silver Age of comics was born from the Cold War era. America was experiencing the aftermath of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Nuclear war posed a threat, and the Vietnam War raged on. In domestic affairs, the African-American civil rights movement was in full swing. But from the threat of nuclear fallout and racial discrimination, a new age of superheroes was about to be born in the pages of comics. Yeah. No, it's good. It's good. I think it's where I went. Thanks. In 1963, with the success of characters such as Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, and the Incredible Hulk, Marvel Comics set out to produce a new hero, or a new team of superheroes that would rival those of their competitors, Detective Comics. Creators Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were just the men to meet that challenge head-on. And from their minds sprouted the idea known as the mutant. A mutant was a being born with an extra power, something that made them special, something that made them different. And along with this gift, or even at times considered a curse, there came the discrimination that followed with it. In September of 1963, along with the first issue of the Avengers, X-Men issue 1 made its way into hungry young children's hands all across America. This debut issued in a renaissance for the superhero. No longer were heroes just being bitten by radioactive spiders or created by superhero serums, such as Captain America, but rather they were being born. The X-Men was a story of bigotry, a group of 5 teenagers with superpowers that would manifest themselves at about around the time of puberty. The team was led by Professor Charles Xavier, a paraplegic mutant, who believed that there could be peace between mutants and humans. And as a precaution, he created a school for the gifted as a safe haven for the X-Men. Together, the team would learn to control their powers in hopes of stopping those who would cause harm to others based on their differences. However, out of fear and hate, mankind began to look at these mutants as if they were born evil. It was as if they were to suffer for the actions of the few that would use their powers for personal gain. Being stereotyped would pose to be the biggest threat for the X-Men over the coming years. However, this hatred was perhaps best shown by the X-Men's first antagonist, Magneto. The villain would eventually be revealed to have been a survivor of the Holocaust in Nazi Germany, and had harbored a deep-seated hatred for the evil that mankind proposed against mutants. Combined with his mission statement that mutants were the future, and his ability to manipulate metal, Magneto became one of the most memorable and the strongest of all the mutants that the X-Men would face. He was the perfect nemesis. Unfortunately, the X-Men comics slowly died off as it reached its 66th issue, and the sales gradually came down. And so the X-Men comic was little more than reprints over the years. It wouldn't be until the mid-70s when writer Len Wein and artist Dave Cockrum would breathe new life into the X-Men. In May of 1975, with the release of the giant-sized X-Men issue 1, the X-Men were given a major overhaul. No longer were the X-Men teenagers, but now they were adults. And more importantly, they were more diverse. With new character additions such as Storm, who was an immigrant from Kenya, and Wolverine, who was a Canadian, the X-Men expanded on its cultural differences, and it paved a way to take on new social issues such as anti-Semitism, sexuality, genocide, and discrimination. These issues became the cornerstone for which the X-Men would be founded upon. By the mid to late 80s, the X-Men's popularity had grown immensely due to its ever-expanding universe and of its characters and unforgettable stories. And in order to compensate for the demand for these stories, a series of new titles were created. These titles were known as The New Mutants, X-Factor, and Excalibur. Wolverine was also given his own independent title. These new titles would allow writers to create large story arcs that would expand over several of the titles that ran alongside the regular running series, and at times it would be difficult for readers to follow. To this day, the X-Men franchise has produced several ongoing cartoon titles, as well as 5 successful box office films, with even more currently in production. And due to this mainstream success of these films, the X-Men have never been more popular, and their stories will still continue to capture attentions of new readers every day. I believe that the argument can be made that the X-Men have evolved, or mutated in some sense. Mutated, if you will, with the ever-changing issues that we face in the current day and age. As we begin our panel discussion tonight, I leave you with this final thought. Although the X-Men and the X-Men comics are perceived to have the abilities to manipulate the mind, the body, and even at times the universe, ask yourself this question. Are we really so different? Do we not face the same challenges and social issues that are proposed in these comics? And how can we say we know fully who the X-Men are when nature calls into question, do we really know ourselves? The X-Men have always served as a balance between those who would discriminate and those who are discriminated against. And although at times they succeed in their mission, their story is filled with moments of immense failure and sacrifice. And it's in these moments of realization that it becomes very clear that the decisions we make will become either a burden or a monument to our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. That was excellent. All right.
Yeah, I know. We're good.
All right. So we're 7:30 and we're already into the puns. So we're giving extra credit for every time anybody works an X pun in. All right. So that was a fantastic introduction. I'm surprised how you and I mesh so well, even though you've never seen my PowerPoint. Yeah, fantastic. So let's start with the panel. Why are the X-Men so popular? Why? I mean, look at the crowd. We've got a great. Why would you all say up here as my panelists, why are the X-Men so popular?
Because they're great and memorable characters, and because they have great storytelling.
Anyone else?
I mean, the one thing that comes to mind is that this is actually kind of a nice experiment because they were around for a long time and they flopped. You know, they started off and they fail, and then it's obvious there was something about that, the reincarnation of the giant X-Man that must have been what really did something that hadn't been done before. And it seemed to me like that would be maybe the question to ask.
I think part of it is that a lot of the comic readers themselves felt like they were outcast growing up, being a comic book guy, being made fun of or whatever in school, and they could relate to the X-Men as just not fitting in.
Right.
Well, and there's someone for everybody to relate to. It's just not a team of four white guys sitting there. You've got somebody for everybody to say, oh, okay, I feel like that, or oh, she looks just like me. So
I know that was part of my attraction growing up.
yeah.
Well, and the X-Men also have that moment of they're answering that question that we all have of what superpower would I have if I could have a superpower? And I think the draw of that question comes into too.
I once ran a stoplight because I was trying to figure out what superpower I wanted. The cop agreed that I thought it was more important than he did.
See, I know that answer.
Yeah.
It's always dog welder from
Well, the thing is, this is one of those theories that's actually easy to prove because, as everybody's pointed out, the X-Men really didn't succeed in the first sort of 10 years of their existence, first 12 or 13 years of their existence. They were always sort of a fringe property, like a second-level property for Marvel, because they really didn't play the card of hated and feared by a world that doesn't understand them. They really didn't play the outcast card that much. It was in the book, but it wasn't a theme that they hit very often. They were most of the time just another group of superheroes like the Avengers. So it's that idea that when they were brought back in the 70s, that's when they really started playing the card of racial prejudice as an allegory for the X-Men. And then, you know, you fold in that idea that the reincarnation of the X-Men in the 70s was also, for the first time, multicultural. And it was, the original concept was that the publisher came to the editorial staff and said, we would like to create a property that we can sell internationally in other markets that will have an appeal to different countries. So can you give us sort of a multicultural, multinational group? And the X-Men actually fit the bill, so they sort of designed the new X-Men around that concept. But what you got out of that was some really strong, some of comics' really strong ethnic, non-white characters.
They killed the Indian off in 2 issues.
And they killed the Indian off in 2 issues, I know.
And got rid of the Japanese guy too.
Yeah, he's right, I know.
So, to the comic book owners, do they sell? Do the X-Men sell well? Do they? Are they some of your better selling?
No.
Why? Yeah, I know.
Yes. Yes, they are no here.
For them, yeah,
For
they're
us,
in
they
a
are.
Marvin town.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you guys are larger towns.
Well, and plus we have we're a college town, so we have a lot of college kids that come in. So anything like this band with X-Men on it, I bought these, to sell, and we can't keep them in. So, people love them. Of course, it's not like Walking Dead, but.
Right, nothing's like Walking Dead.
So what sells in Springfield, Scott?
Walking Dead, Justice
Walking Dead?
League, and Batman.
Batman.
So DC.
Actually,
we
Saga's catching up too.
What is?
Saga?
Oh, Saga.
Yeah.
It's my favorite book out right now. If you guys haven't read Saga, everybody
Oh,
should treat yourself to trade paperback #1.
It's the Brian Bond.
Right after you
Yes.
read Irredeemable.
Right.
Yeah.
X-Men, overcoming adversity.
So other reasons why they're popular. I mean, is Dennis right? It did the reboot in the 70s, but then we killed off all the ethnic characters. Does that work or?
They also have the benefit of momentum on their side because they